Hi patrons, I'm back with another practice clip, and this week I've done a little transcription / reduction of the opening of Jacob Collier's cover of Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic by The Police, which features on his new album Djesse Volume 1, which I've been listening to a lot recently, and if you haven't heard it, I would definitely check it out. The first thing to say about this is that, as I said, it's a reduction of some other parts because there's lots of orchestral elements in this arrangement by Jacob Collier, and so I wanted to add some of the chords featured in the piano and the horns and stuff like that, as well as the harp part, which stands out in this opening minute. The first thing that really stood out to me about playing this is that there's a chord which I imagine is maybe, well, I'm going to have to try it out on the piano first, but it's very awkward to play on the harp. And I feel as though you might play it differently, or you might divide it between the hands if you played it on the piano. But basically the chord is... Now, playing a tenth on the harp is absolutely fine between the fourth finger, this one here, and the thumb. We're very used to playing a tenth, that is to say 10 strings apart. But adding in the fifth, which is the C in this case if we're starting on F, and then adding a G, another fifth above that, plus the 10th, means your hand ends up sort of looking like this, which I don't know if you can fathom how awkward that is, but it's really, really tricky. And what ends up happening is that trying to make that shape, these fingers are all so far apart that actually the third finger, this one here, ends up having to go completely straight, which is pretty awkward because when you're playing the harp normally, you're supposed to bend all of your joints and bring in everything this way. So having to straighten your finger out altogether doesn't make it easy to actually pull your finger off the string. So in the end, with a bit of practice, I managed to play this chord straight with every note sounding at once, which I wasn't sure I was going to be able to do, to be honest. I thought I was going to have to spread it every time. But as I said, flattening out my third finger and just changing the angle of my hand to be tilted more this way seemed to just about be enough. But I do have quite small hands, so this might be something that other harpists would find easier if they have bigger hands than I do. Other challenges in playing this that I noticed were that some of the chords, as the repeated pattern that plays in the harp part in the original goes, there's a bunch of chords that play underneath that which I've transcribed as accurately as I can in the time that I've had, and it sounds like some of those are a bit scrunchy, a bit clustery, and so some of them have got more than 4 notes, and obviously I can only play 4 notes per hand, so if my right hand's busy playing that little hook that keeps going round, then it's a little bit difficult. So because the chords fall on beat 1 and beat 3 of every bar, because this is in 4/4 and we've got that kind of 2 chords per bar kind of pulse, what I've done is added the top note of some of the chords to the 4th finger of the right hand, so I can just play and just catch something on that first beat or 3rd beat of the bar, because actually in the hook part it's always syncopated by a semiquaver at that point, so it just about gives me enough time to deal with those chords and add a little bit extra to them whilst also maintaining that right hand part. I also noticed, and this is a really general rule, that perhaps because it's January I might have forgotten about a little bit too much, having taken a break over Christmas. There were some parts later on in the hook part that I've been talking about where I had to play sort of chords at the end of part of the passage, like that, and so adding those extra bits at the bottom at speed proved quite difficult, and I kept thinking, oh, why can't I do this, what's going on? And actually it's just that general thing that I should have known, which is that in the top register of the harp, a lot of the time we talk about the thumb sitting a lot higher than the fingers. There's this phrase, fingers down, thumbs up, which gets bandied around a lot in lessons, and I've certainly used that term a lot as a teacher myself. But in the higher register of the harp, because the strings are shorter and you have less space between the soundboard and the top of the mechanism, you have to try and move your thumb and your fingers ever so slightly closer together. So in a regular playing position you'd have this, and perhaps in a higher register you just move them closer to each other. And just reminding myself to do that made all the difference in adding those little extra bits to the hook as it went round towards the end of the section. So there's only really one other thing to say about what I've been playing this week, and that's that actually I really wanted to play it along to the original because it made it more fun for me to play along with some other instruments, and also I didn't really want to transcribe the vocals that come in towards the end of that, because I liked Jacob Collier's performance, and I thought that was sort of better than me trying to find a place for that melody, especially considering it's in the same sort of register as the harp chords that I wanted to transcribe. So the challenge really ended up being that the spread chords are just really interestingly lazy, or kind of pushing against the beat in the opposite direction. So some of it was very kind of behind and very sort of, you know, sort of where is the beat kind of stuff, because the spread chord is quite gratuitous in a way almost, and then it would go from that to these very precise semiquavers that I almost felt were pushing ahead of the beat. So that was quite an interesting challenge to play along to and kind of really try and get in tune with that timing. So thanks for watching this week. I'm filming my January video this Sunday, and that will be out the following week. So stay tuned for more on that, and I will see you next time with another practice clip.